All right, I kind of want to see that it's going. This is going to be about the last uh, two of the last three words that I'm going to define. Okay, so as I've said, and I've been going through writing this so much that I just wanted to, I thought I'd try working through in a video to see something that didn't quite work, but I'm going to finish. Um, I'm offering definitions for words. It doesn't really matter. There's a word, a term, a sound, and then there's an idea, a concept attached to it. If you don't think that concept should go with that idea, that word, okay, that's part of what I'm saying is let's put these two together. But you could separate them and keep the word for something else, and the concept still should get a name. So, like with spirituality, is your philosophy of living things, all your ideas about what it's like to be a living thing, what living things like, what they're looking for, how they think, how they behave, everything about living things and being a living thing and other living things and any idea that might be a part of that. If you don't want to call that spirituality, you don't understand why I put those together. Largely etymology. That's what spirit used to mean. That's where the idea comes from. It's a living thing. It's the idea of a quality that a living thing has. And the whole idea of ghost is that that quality can float off away from the body once it's dead, instead of stopping, instead of being a property that stopped. It's kind of like saying a fresh fruit, the freshness just drifted off and it became rotten, but the freshness drifted off. The freshness isn't gone. I don't believe that. I believe, the quality of a living thing is, it's a property of the living thing, or really uh, sort of its system to design, So anyway, the important part here is the concepts for each term. And I think it's also important for other reasons that they be attached to the words I'm attaching them to. But the spirituality one is so important that if you don't like that word, give me another one. I might switch it. The important thing is that it's a philosophy of living things. Being one, and all your theories about what they're like, how they behave, what they're thinking, what makes them tick, what they're made of, where they came from, all of that. That's your spirituality. You don't want to call it your spirituality? Call it your dudar. Whatever. Call it your philosophy of living things. Right? So there's a definition. I'm suggesting that these terms work well together and can do analysis. They interface with one another. They're compatible. They don't step on each other's toes. Right? It's not the only way of splitting down the universe. But it's one very good way because it covers things that are important, uh, that we use philosophy to think about because they're problems that need to be solved. The two words, ethics and morality. This is a great example of the fact that I'm suggesting good definitions because there's so many different ideas of this that we have. There's ethics are associated with professions, the ethics of doctors and lawyers or parents and children and stuff. And what's that mean? Often it's a bunch of rules of thumb as opposed to theory, And morality, maybe it's the more abstract stuff, and it's what's it about? Well, it could be about anything. And is it arbitrary? Does it come from society, et cetera, et cetera? Lots of theories about what they could be, whether they're distinct to different degrees of the same thing, different things, whatever. Here's what I found most useful. Morality is how you treat people that, in groups you're in your society. That would be a morality at the social level, social morality. Not that society has it, you as the individual have it. You're answering a question with ethics and morality, which is part of the philosophy of living things. how do you treat other living things, right? And morality is for living things that are in groups that you're in, like a human. That's a human, I'm a human. How do I treat that human? Okay. Ethics, I think, is how you treat things that you think are in other groups, right? And they're both always in play because, for example, um, ethics, this fits with the fact that, professionals have to worry about the ethics of their profession, how they're supposed to treat people that are in other roles. How should the doctor treat the nurse? How should the doctor treat the patient? How should the patient treat the doctor? Is it okay to get a second opinion or will that insult the doctor? Is it ethically right, even if it does insult him? Is it ethically wrong, even though it didn't insult him? And in any situation, you have multiple of these groups that you're either in or not in, or that are complementary with relationships. If you're the mother and you have a child, then there is an ethics of that relationship. You're not both children, you're not both mothers, right? So there's an ethics of that relationship according to the way I'm defining it. And you're both also in the human race. So you're in the human race, and there's a morality of how you should treat other humans. And that child is a human, and that mother is a human. Right? And to me, enlightenment really is seeing a whole array of these things, all of the interrelationships, the ethical obligations because of the differences, and the moral obligations because of the similarities. Okay? Right? Because you're different, you should take care in how you treat the other person. Right? You shouldn't treat everybody like an idiot, but if somebody actually has a mental disability and they're in a confused place, the ethics of the situation is that you should not take advantage of that, try to trick them out of money or something. And the morality is that this is another human being that, likes shelter and needs comfort and safety and is, because of the ethics of the situation, not able to get that for you, should help them, both ethically and morally. That adds up together. It's one big equation with ethical terms and moral terms, plus divided by square root of the to the power of 5 equals you should act this way, this general way should be a template for your actions. You should help the person in that case, for example. And that's ethics and morality.